Hey guys, Marsenkin here, bringing you Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at the TEQ Janemba EZA. This has been a long-awaited EZA because this guy is on a ton of extreme teams, and obviously him getting an EZA and being meta-relevant again means he's going to be a great support for a lot of these teams out there, and they have certainly fixed one of the biggest issues that a lot of people had with his overall kit, right? So he's a corroded body and mind leader for 3 key 180. I mean, that's not a great category. There are some missions out there. I know we got a recent one for one of the anniversary events, so this guy getting an EZA is obviously a big help with that. He also leads extreme class 3 key 130, so like Pycon, he can be a very good like battlefield leader. His super attack effect is raise attack, which is an infinite stack, raise defense for 1 turn, and does immense damage to the enemy. And then when we look at his passive, his basic effects are attack and defense 180%, guards all attacks, damage reduction 50%, and then extreme class allies 2 key, attack and defense 30%. If you get 3 or more orbs, he gives corroded body and mind or uncontrollable power allies 30% attack and defense. Then he launches an additional attack that has a great chance to become a super. If you get a rainbow orb, he gets an extra 150% defense and 30% damage reduction. So turn 1, that puts him up to 80% damage reduction with guard. Then for every attack he receives, he gets 20% extra attack up to 100% and loses 5% damage reduction, but he can't lose any more than 50%. So basically, he can lose all of the damage reduction from his base passive, but then as long as you're still getting a rainbow orb with him, he's still going to have 30% damage reduction. Now, this is the biggest thing that they changed, right? Just like Pycon, his thing is now 3 type orbs and 1 rainbow orb. You guys know, if you've been around the channel for these couple of years, I was a certified TEQ Janemba hater when he came out. He needed 4 type orbs and 2 rainbow orbs, which a lot of the time was just an absolute nightmare to be able to get. You guys remember all of the extreme tech ESBR shenanigans, multiple attempts at the no items run on that stage lost because Janemba wasn't able to pick up the correct orbs, and then would take too much damage, or, you know, just horrible situations. So him and Pycon now both the same, only 1 rainbow orb and 3 type orbs, which is significantly easier to be able to achieve, right? So we're on the uncontrollable power team. He does get a 200% leader skill from TEQ Broly. He does get it from the Int Broly. He gets it from TEQ Buhan. He's also on the physical Rose 200% lead. He's obviously on the TEQ Broly 200% lead because he's a movie boss character. He is on Daima Goku and Daima Vegeta's leads, but kind of like with Pycon being on Cell's leader, he's an extreme support character. I mean, I guess for uncontrollable power, that would be really interesting, because also on this team, you can run the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and as long as you're getting that the 3 type orbs, Janemba would still be giving him support as well, because he's uncontrollable power. But that's very interesting. But it means like basically everybody on this team is getting the 60% support from Janemba. He has big bad bosses, so obviously that helps. So we start out the turn at 400k defense. If we go ahead and grab our orbs here, we're going to get the extra defense and the damage reduction. So he's at 610k at the start of the first turn with guard and 80% damage reduction. So that is pretty good. Obviously he doesn't get anything on attack outside of his super attack effect, which is obviously raise defense 1 turn, so that's 30%. So he'll be getting what, just under 200k. But it's the fact that he has guard and 80% damage reduction is the thing that's going to make all of the difference, right? So go ahead and do this, then we'll grab some orbs for Buhan at the end here, and let's see what we're looking at. So 7.9 million for the first attack. Obviously he's not meant to be a damage dealer, but he does infinitely stack, so the more supers he gets, the more he will be building up that attack power. So you see he jumps from the 7 point something to 8.2. That was from the hidden potential. Obviously the passive additional was only a normal. And so, of course, he takes double-digit damage. That means he's now lost 5% damage reduction, but he does get the extra attack now from being hit a single time. And I think the reason why they've done this, I mentioned this in the Discord, and I think I mentioned it in the video when we talked about the details, when someone was saying, like, a lot of people don't like the fact that he loses the damage reduction, but I think the reason why they've done that, and it's fine if we don't like it, right? I just think the reasoning behind why they've done it is because it kind of I say forces you, because you could probably still get away without doing it, but it basically makes it so that you actually want to transform him. Because the biggest problem with this guy when he first came out is that his transformed version was just terrible. I think his transformed version was the only version of Janemba in the game that like didn't have guard. I'd have to double check if it was the thing that was like restricted or something, but he was just very, very like unimpressive when he transformed the TEQ Janemba, and because he obviously then wasn't giving any support, it became a situation where you just absolutely didn't want to ever transform him. And so I think that they have just gone ahead and made it so that this guy is still very good right at the start when you want him to be like the defensive support, and then at the end I guess the idea is you then transform into the Super Janemba so that he can do that little bit extra. I'm just going to look at his pre-EZA. Yeah, so he only had guard for 1 turn. And then after that, all he had was if you got a rainbow orb, he had a 50% chance to dodge. So after that, that was it. Like, no damage reduction, no guard. If you got a rainbow orb, it was a 50% shot that you would dodge, and then that was it. Whereas the pre-EZA version had guard guaranteed in his base form, and it was picking up the 2 rainbow orbs gave him 30% damage reduction. So in a lot of situations, post-super attack, the untransformed Janemba was just better defensively than the transformed one, which was obviously kind of silly. It's interesting because pre-EZA, the untransformed, like Fat Janemba, he only had the raised defense for 1 turn, whereas he now has the infinitely stacking attack as part of his base form ability, which is certainly very interesting. Because yeah, I mean, in certain situations as well, the thing is people can dislike him losing the damage reduction with each hit, which is fair, but there's also situations like this where like we could not put him in slot 1 in this turn if we really didn't want to, and then he's not going to lose any damage reduction because he's not going to get hit. So what is it that you don't have? Is it Nightmare? Yeah. Should just put you there. Now the problem is, again, just like PyCon, this situation is going to come up sometimes where we just don't have the 3 type orbs. And unfortunately, picking up the type orbs doesn't give give allies any extra key. So if I like miss a super with the Int Janemba in slot 1 to make sure we can get orbs for the Fat Janemba, then obviously that doesn't really help out here at all. Actually no, because Janemba gets extra key if he's in slot 1 or 3 anyway, doesn't he? So that actually worked out perfectly fine. So yeah, on this turn, it means that TEQ Janemba is providing the 60% support and the links and everything for Int Janemba, but now he's not getting hit at all on this turn. So if you can get those kind of situations in the earlier parts of these runs, that's obviously going to be super beneficial for the later part, because then you don't have to worry about him potentially getting taken out by these big bosses near the end, which is very useful. And then of course, you know, when you do get nearer to the end and he's been hit a fair few times, that's when you go ahead and transform. And the transformed version of Janemba, they obviously, I think they knew, they see the feedback from the community like most of the time, right? They knew that people didn't like the transformed version, so they've made his transformed version significantly better. I mean, simply the fact that he does just have guaranteed guard is obviously helpful. But yeah, we'll obviously go through his transformation like passive once we get to the point of transforming him. To transform his actual condition, I think it is it the same as PyCon's? No, his can be activated after he receives 5 or more attacks. So I suppose that's the other thing, is you can, if you're avoiding him taking attacks so that he can continue to be that support, then you're not going to get the option to transform anyway. So I suppose it's one of those things you have to choose how you want to use him, how you want to play him in each different scenario. Because keeping him out of harm's way a little bit here at the beginning is helpful to keep that bit of support, but then as we get closer to the end of the fight and we get to this final phase, especially in this stage, right, where the final phase is the AGL, Zamasu and Goku Black, then we are going to want the TEQ Janemba to come out so we can do some of the bigger damage and obviously get through that final phase, because they have a lot of HP and they heal a lot. It can be very, very annoying. But yeah, this team's definitely, the Int Broly team has been such a fun team since the worldwide celebration from last year, and it keeps getting these few little buffs The only downside for the team is like Int Broly himself, with the post-anniversary power creep. If you don't have the domain up, like we currently don't, he can get taken out, even by like normal attacks from some of the big bosses can do big damage to him. And he does have a revival, obviously, so you do get that sort of one-time like get out of jail free card kind of thing. So let's let Janemba actually take some hits. So he's at 350k. We'll go ahead and use the domain, because obviously remember the domain is going to buff Janemba. So go ahead and do that. We did have the domain up on his first turn, because the first turn for the showcase was actually turn 2 of the event. He was on turn 2. So we did have the domain up from the other Int Broly. So now that we have this up, we are at 400k defense start of turn. So we can get our orbs here. That's what we need. So similar, this should be the same as the first turn, right? Yeah, 611k. And then we'll do that. And we'll do that. Obviously, Int Janemba's not ideal in slot 2. He is meant to be a slot 1 or 3. But we want TEQ Janemba to actually take these hits here, so that he can not only get the build up, but also obviously unlock the transformation like condition. So 14 mil here now after he takes these couple of extra hits. Yeah, he's taking quite a lot of hits this turn, so this is going to be, what is it, all of his damage reduction gone? He loses 5%. He has to get hit 10 times to lose all of his damage reduction. So he's going to take a few hits here. That should be the last one. Yeah, so his attack power is fully built up now, so he now has an extra 100% attack. So I think what we'll try and do is maybe on the next turn not transform him, because then we can see the ceiling for his untransformed version attack stat, and then transform him on the next time around. So in Janemba, that would have been GG if we didn't dodge, which is as I said when I made my last EZA like tier list, in Janemba, the number of times I've lost some of these end game events because he doesn't dodge the big super attack. I actually need to float off the other Int Broly, so otherwise we're going to end up with a double Broly turn, which I don't really want. So we'll do that, and then we'll do that, and then that gets this Zamasu stage finished off here. But yeah, I mean, TEQ Janemba, the categories that he's on, right? He's on, you know, Corroded Body of Mine's not a great team, but he's on Transformation Boost, Movie Bosses, Accelerated Battle. Like, the number of teams that he can fit on with extreme allies. Even like the Glorio, we talked about it with Pycon, but Glorio's team just keeps getting W after W with some of these new characters, because you can run Glorio's team as a full setup of like Janemba and Boo units because of Accelerated Battle or Cell. And so yeah, Glorio's floating in slot 3 for support, this Janemba floating in slot 3 for support, and then you can have both the main rotations being like Buhan and Janemba or Cell, and then that team will go pretty crazy. And then obviously if you really want to, at some point you can transform the TEQ Janemba, shift him onto the main rotation, like just a lot of good options for the team. And then obviously Movie Bosses is all extreme, aside from the odd like Beerus or Tapion character like Tapion slash the AGL Tapion Hirudegarn. But yeah, so now we have the option to transform. We do still have the domain up. We're at 357k here. We can get all of the orbs. Should we stay in? So he's received 7 attacks in total. So he still has 15% damage reduction from his normal base. And then when we get the rainbow orb, he's going to have another 30%. So he's going to have 45% damage reduction and guard. Let me check. I don't know if that is that going to be enough? Let me check these guys' super attack. Because obviously these guys are starting to hit harder and harder in slot 1. The Future Trunks Saga. Yeah, so they hit for 4.2 million. So that's going to be a significant amount of damage if Janemba has... What did we say? He's got 15% left from his main passive. So he's got 45% damage reduction. So that drops that down to 2.3 million, and he has guard. But that's not going to be enough if he's only got 357k defense start of turn. So at this point, it's this is where, I guess this is why he has this effect, right? And this is what we talked about, is they want you to transform him at this point. It is awkward, like I say, with the Int Janemba, with him wanting to be a slot 1 or 3 unit for the most part. But In fact, let's just go ahead and we'll transform TEQ Janemba. Let's get the animation in here for the transformation. Right. I haven't seen that for so long because it's just so like it's so not worth transforming him. So now that he is transformed into the TEQ Super Janemba, we have our super attack effect is now greatly raise attack and raise defense for 1 turn, immense damage to the enemy. And then his passive is attack and defense 200%, randomly change key spheres of a certain type to any one type of key sphere. It's kind of odd, it just randomly changes one orb to another type of orb. Changes key spheres AGL to rainbow, then guards all attacks, high chance to dodge. Then with 3 type orbs, he gets an extra 100% attack and defense and a guaranteed additional super. With the run rainbow orb, he gets a 30% extra chance to dodge. So that means he has 80% chance to dodge. Before receiving an attack within the turn, he has 30% damage reduction. And then after evading an attack, he gets a guaranteed critical hit on his next attack. And when attacking with 12 or more key, he gets 250% attack and defense. So that is pretty significant. Obviously he shares every single link with you. I kind of want to do this though, just because then we have the Janemba in slot 3. So we miss out on a couple of links, but that gives him 358 slot 1. That would be the same defensively, so I guess we might as well. We can get all the orbs here that we need. So before attacking, so he's got 478k. He's got guard and 30% damage reduction with an 80% chance to dodge. When he attacks, he's going to get 250%. So if we put that in here, plus 250%, this is without the super attack effect as well. He goes up to having 1.67 million defense. So basically almost 1.7 million defense with guard and an 80% chance to dodge. So very much like other Janembas, it is still going to be a case of like against the bigger boss super attacks, you are just going to want him to be dodging. But he's obviously going to be able to tank normals relatively well. There's the dodge. Is he going to dodge the super? 80%. Yeah, there we go. So he gets a guaranteed crit now. 39 million. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. And bear in mind, in a longer event, you could just keep stacking with the Fat Janemba if you can keep him out of harm's way in terms of attacks. We got the orb we need, so he gets a guaranteed additional. And so because he's massively raising for the turn, he's now at 41 for the second attack. And then hidden potential. Only hidden potential normal. That's unfortunate. But, I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. That's like 80 million attack stat worth of attacks. He dodged the super in slot 1. We've taken a couple of normals for double-digit damage, and then that's it. So, yeah, it's one of those things. I can see why people don't like him losing the damage reduction, because on his first turn especially, he's like the go-to like slot 1 tank, I guess. And then on his second appearance, if on the first turn he's already taken like 5 hits, he's going to be down to having, what, like 55% damage reduction, which pre-super is still not going to be like the craziest levels of defense for him. But he's still going to be relatively good, providing that support. And then obviously once you do get that transformation, that's when he has the potential to then just start going crazy, which is certainly very, very good. Do I even want to use the rage mode here? Obviously I'll use this. Oh yeah, the animations are still on. Do the Paragus Crush and get the buff here for TEQ Broly. I mean, it's one of those things. I like using the Future Saga stage of either of the Goku or Vegeta story Red Zone as like a testing ground, because it's decently long and the enemy is, you know, still quite tough. But it means a lot of the time we don't necessarily always play all the way through to the end of the stage, because it's quite long with the amount of HP that they have. Plus, I'm a little bit worried about Int Broly in slot 3. This is what I was saying before, right? Like, now that the domain has run out, he has a bit of a liability. Obviously, we can't die anyway on this turn because we have the revival up from Int Broly. So, regardless of what happens, we're still going to be getting through to the next turn. But yeah, I could definitely see this Janemba, like, on any sort of builds with, like, movie bosses. Even if he's only getting the 170 lead, Like, the fact that he's going to be providing this extreme support while being very strong defensively, like in his own right, is going to be very, very good. Stacking attack as well. I mean, it's not super important for a unit that's just there for support, but you'll be able to do a decent little bit of damage. And then even with that being floated in slot 3, like over the course of the event, he is obviously going to be taking some hits. And then when you get to the last part, you know, if you get to one of the final bosses, like Jiren in one of the red zones or something like that, and he's been hit so many times that the low damage reduction is going to make him a liability even after supering, then even if you still want to keep him in slot 3 and float him off, that's when you can pop the transformation into the Super Janemba. And as long as you get the orbs, that guard and the 60% chance to dodge, oh sorry, 80% chance to dodge, should keep him relatively safe. I mean, it's RNG at the end of the day, right? Even characters with 90% chance to dodge don't dodge sometimes, and unfortunately it just is what it is. But so let's grab those for you. But yeah, it definitely looks pretty good, like in terms of the defensive capability and everything here so far. Just like Pycon, very, very good unit. Very good to throw on the team and just be there for the support. Solid defensively. Once he transforms into Super Janemba, then obviously he can really start going crazy. But, yeah, see, 831k when we don't dodge the super. And that's from a super that does 4.2 million, which still quite a decent amount, but is not even the hardest of hitting bosses that we have in the meta. And that's exactly as I was literally just saying, like, even a unit with 80% chance to dodge, you can still not dodge. And then if we didn't have the revival up for this turn, then obviously we would just be dead, right? So that's something that we have to be careful of. I think we can end it off there. But yeah, TEQ Janemba definitely seems very good. Time will tell, I guess, as we use him in more events, just how annoying it is with like the damage reduction loss and then basically having to transform him, because the Super Janemba is good. It's just obviously the TEQ Janemba in base pre-transformation, like early on in the fight, he's got damage reduction, which is so much better than just relying on dodge. But I guess we'll see how we get on with him. I think he's another very, very good, like very solid EZA. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.